Hey, everybody. What y'all had said was y'all wanted to hear from more speakers. Y'all tired of hearing from me and the BIMS leadership team. So, this is direct response to our community survey and feedback of y'all wanted to hear from just other Black scientists who are doing amazing things in this world. And there's no one better than the weatherman. So let me read the bio, the illustrious bio that I've been given. Alan Seals is the 2026 president of the American Meteorological Society, AMS. He is also a fellow of the AMS and a past president of the National Weather Association. His meteorology degrees with an S are a BS from Cornell and an MS from FSU. Allen is now retired, but he's still here with us from a career as a broadcast meteorologist, having worked in Albany, Georgia, Milwaukee, Chicago, and Mobile, Alabama. He is a 16-time regional Emmy winner who went viral for his 2017 coverage of Hurricane Irma to be proclaimed best weatherman ever. Come on, y'all. Y'all know y'all be watching the weather. I grew up with my grandma always having on the Weather Channel. So this is just so exciting for me. Alan teaches weather broadcasting at the University of South Alabama because we can never really retire. Writes a weather column for Laganappy newspaper and serves as a weather consultant and expert witness. Allen has also authored 3 weather books and produced over 100 weather videos used domestically and internationally by K through 12 educators. So, y'all, this is what y'all was asking for. Somebody else y'all wanted to hear from. So, again, I am so excited to hear from you, Alan. Please share your story, share your words. And then, BIMS members, have your questions ready. You have the weatherman here just for BIMS. Okay? Did I hype you up enough? Are you ready? All
I'm
right.
ready. I need to take you everywhere I go to introduce me.
Listen, this is what I do. All right. Yeah, take it away. We got what?
I
See,
may have you do
take
my
all your 30
eulogy.
minutes. Only took one. So there we are. You
Yeah,
got
I
it.
may have you do my eulogy too. If I
Oh,
check
now,
out.
sir. What? That escalated quickly. Let me go on mute.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Awesome to see good people. That's what I live for. Good people doing good things for other people. I'm Alan Seals. When I hear my bio read, I'm always thinking, is that me? Am I that guy? And I'm that guy, but it still doesn't seem that way. But I have had an awesome career as a broadcast meteorologist. I knew from a young age that TV broadcasting and science as a combination would be an awesome profession for me because it suits my personality. And along the way, I've had tremendous opportunities. So I'm not going to talk for 30 minutes. I'll talk for about 10, 15, and then we'll interact. But when I just think about it, I've flown with the Hurricane Hunters. I've met astronauts, presidents, just the whole big variety of things that most people never get to do. But most of all, I get to pay to talk about the weather. I mean, I could sit in a chair all day and just look at the sky and look at the clouds and try to imagine what the clouds are doing, which one will be dominant. To me, it's like a soap opera. Which one's going to sneak in from the left? But clouds are like people. They are different sizes, different shapes, different colors, but they are all the same. They're made of water, just like people. We're mostly made of water. All right, so I'm going to share a short PowerPoint. So let's see, okay, there. And then I'm going to do this here. I'm going to move that there, and then I'm going to go there. All right, you seeing that full screen? Look good? So here I am at the AMS, our annual conference in Houston during the ice storm this past January. And what I'm saying is, how did I get here? So I'm the third Black president in the history of the American Meteorological Society, which goes back to 1919. It's an honor, and my goal is what my goal has been for everything I've done professionally: represent, help other people. So that's why I'm here. So I'm going to give you my short story, and I'm trained as a broadcaster, so I could actually do this in 3 minutes if I had to, but I'll stretch it out a little longer. So we'll start with the quiz. Which one do you think is me? This is me with my three brothers growing up in Mount Vernon, New York. Which one? Any guess?
Oh man. The little one, the little guy.
You are correct. So what's funny, I didn't realize this until I was probably in my 20s. I had a gap in my teeth as a child, but they grew together. And one day I looked at it, it's like, oh, my gap is gone. So anyway, but yeah, that was me. A really awesome experience. Mount Vernon is on the border of the Bronx, and it's the first suburb getting out of New York City. So for us, we could walk to the subway and for 35 cents, get on the subway and go anywhere in the five boroughs and have an adventure. And I did a lot. So I learned a lot. I had a lot of fun. And like most kids growing up, I think I loved to be outside. I was active, played baseball when I was in fifth grade and sixth grade. And I thought I was going to be a professional baseball player. And then from that point into middle school, I played trumpet. And once I got to middle school, I realized I wasn't as good in baseball as I thought I was. But I loved playing the trumpet. I loved music. Just the whole concept of playing in a band, creating, doing a solo. But there was this one problem with me playing the trumpet. I wasn't any good at it. And fortunately, I figured that out before it was too late. So in my high school years, I still played trumpet. I was in the marching band, the jazz band, the concert band. I actually wrote a few compositions for my high school band for like a 12-piece orchestral arrangement. And I was really thinking music. Along the way, though, I picked up photography as a hobby, became my school's high school photographer. And it was a hobby that now is almost another side gig for me, which incorporates really well with meteorology. So I was in high school in the late 70s, early 80s. I had to think about that. And when I graduated, as I was approaching graduation, for me growing up, it wasn't a question if I was going to college. It was implied, it was understood. Even for me, it wasn't a question. My mom was a nurse, registered nurse. My dad worked behind the scenes at CBS News in New York. So for their generation, they were both college graduates, and that was um, somewhat unique. And my aunts a lot of them were in education. Uncles did odd jobs. It was the typical story of uh, folks where my dad's folks are from North Carolina. My mom's folks are from South Carolina. During the migration, they moved to the north, scraped together, and then made a way. So hardworking people, good people. In any event, though, I was going to be a dual major because I really loved music and I was fascinated by meteorology. In third grade, we were outside doing a class demonstration where we were looking at the clouds, trying to imagine what shapes they look like. And while we were doing that, I was trying to imagine how can the clouds float? It's to me, it's an amazing feat of physics. And I know the answer on the molecular level, you're talking H2O molecules, which are actually lighter than nitrogen molecules or regular oxygen molecules, but you have a slight updraft and that keeps the cloud up. But just think about you get a thunderstorm that moves over your house, drops 2 inches of rain, 30 minutes later, the cloud is gone. There's no sign that it ever existed. And to this day, that amazes me to no end. Okay, so went to college, Cornell. It's a party school. People don't tell you that. Had the time of my life. I had too much fun. My grades suffered. I ended up majoring in meteorology. I learned a little meteorology, but I also learned a lot more about myself and my limits and my ability to study and focus. But I was a social butterfly. I was a DJ. If I wasn't on the dance floor, I was behind the turntables, did not miss a party. Uh, and I knew when it came close to graduation in 1985 that I needed to really tighten up my meteorology. So I ended up applying to graduate school, got into FSU, and FSU offered me a teaching assistantship. And at the time, I didn't even know what that was. I knew it was graduate assistance, but I didn't realize that you could teach, which I ended up teaching intro to meteorology to non-majors as I was working my way through grad school. And I had a ball. I love teaching. I love sharing. I've learned in life that people ask you for money, you can give them money and you'll run out of it. But there are two things you can give people that you never run out of. One is love, one is knowledge. And I love sharing the knowledge, whether it's in classroom or in person or on a Zoom or on a stage. So FSU was awesome. I had the chance to practice and study being a broadcast meteorologist, which I had started to do that at the end of my college years. And actually, in grad school, first semester, my grades were going like that. The dean called me in. He said, "This isn't good enough. If you want to stay, you got to do better." So, but he said it in a way that he challenged me. And I still to this day don't know if he challenged me personally, professionally, or racially. But either way, I wasn't about to let him win that challenge. So by the next semester, I was getting straight A's and I was tutoring other students in calculus, which for me was like, whoa, that's something. I could actually do this. So grad school was great. 2 years at FSU. Immediately after, I got my first job in Albany, Georgia. So I did a presentation last year to some students, and it challenged me to put my whole career on one slide. So this is it. This tells the story of my career as a broadcast meteorologist, starting in 1987, working for 1 year in Albany, Georgia, Southwest Georgia, small community. I had an awesome time because I met really good people. It was all about people. It was a community that appreciated weather. And to put things in context, 1987, that was 25 years after Martin Luther King Jr. was thrown in jail in Albany, Georgia. 25 years. And Albany got their first black meteorologist, let alone a college educated black meteorologist. So I worked there for 1 year. I got my professional credentials with the American Meteorological Society, the National Weather Association. And then, here's the fun fact. 1987, with a graduate degree, my starting salary on TV was $14,000 a year. 14. So with inflation, that would be like 28,000 by now, which is still pitifully low. But that's the nature of TV broadcasting. You start low because it's a performance art. You start low in a small city, then you work your way up. But I loved what I did. So the money wasn't that important. However, I was a weekend meteorologist and a weekday news photographer, which went right along with my hobby of taking pictures. But then I saw an advertisement for an opening in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Never been there, didn't know anyone in Milwaukee. I applied for the job, competed with 72 other people, which I later found out, and I got the job. And same thing in Milwaukee, first black meteorologist on TV. What was unique about that station is all three of us in the black and white picture had master's degrees. So I always tell people, if you're thinking about a higher degree, do it if you can, because it pays off. It may not pay off immediately, but down the road, it does pay off. It makes you more confident and competent. So Milwaukee was great. That's where I met my wife. She fell in love with me, so I married her. Worked out okay. That was 35 years ago. She's not here right now. Otherwise, she'd be rolling her eyes as usual. But yeah, Milwaukee was awesome. And then I learned this thing that people don't tell you when you're young, and that is you can be the highest trained person, the most loyal employee. You can work 8 days a week. And if you get a new boss who's been charged with reducing the budget, you will lose your job. Simple as that. Has nothing to do with how good of a person you are, how good of an employee you are. If the economics say that they have to start trimming, they start trimming. So they trimmed me. They offered me less money than I was making. My salary went from $28,000 a year when I first started there. 4 years later, it was at $40,000, and which is where I should have started with a master's degree. He offered me less money. I said no. I had been searching for jobs, had all my networking feelers out there, and it turns out the week after I said, no, I will not take less. I followed up with WGN in Chicago, and the news director said, how'd you know we had an opening? And I said, I didn't, but I'm available. 2 weeks later, I was hired in Chicago. So I worked with Tom Skilling for many years at WGN. Also worked with Bozo the Clown. If you are of a certain age, you know who Bozo is. He's an institution, or was. Um, so in Chicago, awesome city, hip, vibrant, great to work in a big market. I was making excellent money. And then the same thing happened. I got a new boss who decided to cut my salary. So it was really clear that I wasn't going to go far at that station. Uh, Shortly thereafter, 1997, you see that in WMAQ in Chicago. So I was hired there as the weather producer, worked behind the scenes, making awesome money, six figures. But I actually wasn't enjoying the job because I wasn't appreciated as a meteorologist. And because that's the same station that tried to hire Jerry Springer on the 10 o'clock news to do commentary. So at that point, I realized I didn't want to work there. And it worked out great because they fired me. They fired me along with half the other newsroom simply because a new boss came in and they cleaned house after all of the fiasco of Jerry Springer, and I was out of there. So all of that at the bottom of the picture. Meanwhile, I was teaching at Columbia College in Chicago. I was elected local chapter president of the Chicago chapter of the American Meteorological Society. I had started doing independent weather videos, doing weather photography, selling my pictures and videos on the side. And shortly thereafter, I got the call from here in Mobile. The CBS TV station knew I was not working, and they offered me a position as a chief meteorologist. I had interviewed before in Alabama, but didn't have any ties to the state. So I said, okay, let me check it out and see. And it turns out to be the best professional move I could have made. That was 27 years ago. And I stayed on TV at two different stations here in Mobile for a total of 24 years. But it's home. Mobile is an awesome community, progressive for the South. It's the home of Mardi Gras, which you would never know that because New Orleans made it something otherwise. And we have a great weather community, pretty environmentally friendly community, and it's very diverse. So let's see, I think I'm near the end. Oh, so what am I doing now? So AMS, American Meteorological Society, I was on another Zoom earlier today, and I told the young folks that every position I've held within either the National Weather Association or the American Meteorological Society, someone asked me to do it. I did not seek any of them. I did not really want to do any of them, but people asked me to do it. And I agreed to do it because we all have to give back to our communities and because we have to represent. And that, again, is my big mission. So now in retirement, I do, as you heard, legal consulting, weather consulting in legal cases. I still do photography. I've written several books, as you've heard, get inundated with media interviews whenever the federal government puts out something that causes chaos within the what we call the weather enterprise. So I am staying busy. That's a link to my books. The one called A Career in TV Meteorology, it's really a career guide for any young person who's going into any professional career. So it's not just about weather, but those are on Amazon. If you're interested, I'm going to stop sharing this and take questions from you all.